Welcome to this complete guide on the Hardsupport Role. We're going to talk about what makes a support hero and his basic job, and then we're going to go through the gameplay in each state of the game, laning, mid-game and late game. Finally, I'm going to share one misconception that I think a lot of 5 positions have. So let's get right started. What makes a support hero? It's a hero with just natural supporting abilities like buffs, saves, heals, control and information. And heroes with strong abilities that don't require any items to stay relevant in the game, thinking about Warlock Golems or Global Silence and Ancient Apparition Ultimate. So you're going to be paired up with your carry on the safe lane, which is here or here. Your basic job is to establish a love relationship to your carry. This means that he will try to go for a lot of gold and you will be the shield that will fend off any enemies that try to interrupt him in his beautiful farming patterns. In your way to set up your course for success, let's start with laning. We're going to assume that you are playing on the Radiant side, and therefore we will zoom in on this bottom right side of the map. Here we see the Radiant safe lane and the enemy off lane. Your job in the laning is to make sure that your carry can last its creeps easily. And the best way to do this is to keep the wave very close to your own tower. This is where the wave initially meets. And then by like small fights or ability usage or the enemy aggroing or pulling the wave, eventually your wave will slowly wander towards the enemy tower. And this is a big no-no. You want the wave to be back right here. And the easiest way to do this is to pull this camp at like always at second 19 and 49. This means that this wave will be blocked and the enemy will have his wave push over here. Now, there are ways for the enemy to play against this by pulling their own camp, and you can prevent this by either blocking this with your sentry, which I highly encourage you to do, or by contesting this pull whenever the enemy tries to do so at second 17 and second 47. Meaning that you will walk away from your wave towards the enemy and try to contest this. So you need to pull your wave and contest the enemy creep pull. That's your first job. The second one is to harass and deal damage to the enemy offlaner. This is ideally done by mirroring the enemy support. So if the enemy support is on this side, you want to walk on this side and then hit the enemy offlaner who is staying on top of the wave. And then when this guy changes position, so will you, and keep on top of the offlaner. If you cannot hit the offlaner, you would ideally like to man up onto the enemy support with your carry, trying to boot this support out of lane so that you effectively create a 2v1 versus the enemy offlane. So creep pulling and contesting the enemy pull, and then there is harassment and trying to boot the enemy support out of lane. Let me say 2 final things to a winning and then to a losing lane. In a winning lane, when you're actually able to make sure that your carry has a decent game and you shut down the enemy off lane, you should try to be ready to go for a play towards your twin gate. If you win your lane and you go twin gate and you find an angle where you can come from behind and kill an enemy carry, this will be very good for your game, but you need to communicate this to your carry saying, yo, I'm away from the lane, watch out. And the other rotation is at 6 minutes towards the power rune for your mid laner to secure this first power rune, potentially enabling a very decent gank at the start of the game. In the losing lane, it is extremely important to deward the enemy camp. Losing lane means usually that the enemy is able to be very aggressive onto you, but being aggressive also usually pushes the wave towards the tower, bringing it into a safer place. If the enemy has this camp freely to pull, and they are stronger than you in lane, then you will very hardly lose this lane. If they can be very aggressive, but can do it here, you will have a very hard time. So it is so important to block this camp and unblock this camp. So now when we transition into the mid game, there are like a few jobs that every support needs to recognize. The first one is warding, meaning to gain information for your team. And then there's also stacking, meaning that you will increase the farming power of your cores. And this is something that you will do whenever you have time to do so. And it's very useful to start implementing like a 1-minute clock into your gameplay. If like you can check every single minute, hey, do I have an opportunity to stack right now? And you do so, it will increase your chances of just being much higher net worth as an entire team. Then during the mid game, you should look to buy at least one safe item or a setup item. A safe item can be Force Staff, Yule's Glimmer Cape, and a setup item can be something like a Rod of Aethys, or even a Yule's actually, or a Vessel against heroes like Morphling, Huskar, Timbersaw. So safe items are usually always the first option that you want to go for, and setup items is if you really have to get a setup item like a Vessel and nobody else can do it, or if you are stomping the game already and you just want to stay aggressive. But buying Glimmer Cape, Force Staff, those are like the two main supporting items that you want to achieve and acquire during the mid game. Finally, there will be free waves on the map every once in a while, and these waves will be free because none of your cores want to farm it. This can be very often a mid lane wave. If you don't have a tower here, for example, anymore, then this wave is kinda spicy to take, and this can be often a wave that you take care of. And it's also the wave that is coming in like this, because usually in a game of Dota, the map splits in a way where you break this tower, and then you can venture here, and the enemy will break this tower and they can venture here. So the map is not split like this, but the map is actually more like this, where you can play in the enemy jungle and they can play in your jungle. So this is often like your own safe lane in the mid game is usually dangerous farm, and that is what you want to take. Now the overall game plan is still to make sure that your carry has decent farm. And there are like two main approaches to this, and one is being a babysitter and the other one is being a Spacemaker. So let's therefore look at this support spectrum. On the one side we have the babysitters like Oracle, IO, Shadow Demon. Especially IO being like the main babysitter, just sitting with your carry, being tethered to him, helping him farm and helping him being protected. This is also the case for heroes with decent saves like Oracle or Shadow Demon. And then there are Spacemakers who don't really have any save ability or very little of it, and they want to be out on the map making a move, Lion to set up a kill, and Clockwork to reach over long distances to close the gap, and Enchantress pressuring buildings with her creeps. Then there's everything in between, like an Ogre Magi who can bloodlust his carry, and this is why he wants to play around his carry, but who is also doing decently well in fights. And then there's Snapfire with a very good ultimate that she wants to use off cooldown, very decent wave clear, so she wants to be out on the map making moves but can still be close to the carry with a cookie save and stuff like this. And then there's Undying, where it depends on where he puts his body. Either he places his body like in front of his carry, so that whoever comes meets Undying first, and that's the way he's like babysitting his carry, or he's moving onto another side of the map and therefore making space there. This is not only about the hero though, this is also about whether you are losing your game or whether you are winning your game. So in a winning game, even a hero like Oracle or Shadow Demon can play away from his carry with his team to shut down the enemy and close the map out. In a losing game, even a hero like Clockwork or Lion will be more focused on protecting the farm. So if you are stomping your game, you don't want to sit back with your carry in a triangle, because like you're doing well, you want to find and kill the enemies pressuring buildings. And in a losing game, if you're just venturing out on the map, running at enemies, you're going to kind of die. So you need to play more passively and protect the zone where your carry is going to farm. I'm going to talk quickly about the babysitter idea and about the Spacemaker idea. So the babysitter can, in a winning lane, he will stay with his carry in this lane as long as possible and make sure he either finds kills or doesn't get gone on. In a losing lane, your carry will retreat into your own jungle or into the triangle area, and you will just follow your carry wherever he is. Meaning that you will be around this triangle area, placing some wards around here so that you can see people coming in and trying to kill. As the Spacemaker, in a winning lane it's not too different. In a winning lane you just want to stay with the carry. Like, winning lanes are so amazing, and having the farm of a creep wave is so much better than jungle camps usually, that you want to stay as long as possible. This often happens like in an Ursa lane where you shut down the enemy, and Ursa having like 4 levels in Fury Swipe being very strong. So in a winning lane you want to just stay here. In a losing lane though, where again your carry is going back to this area, maybe going back to this area, you don't want to stick with your carry. Like, you want to find places on the map with your playmakers that will create engagements and therefore create space. So let's say you fight mid with your mid laner, maybe a Void Spirit, someone who is able to fight very early, and that means that your carry can very freely farm. Maybe he has time to actually push a wave out, maybe he wants to respond to the fight if it's successful. So those are the two basic ideas. The one where the Babysitter is basically always connected to his carry, and the one where the Spacemaker is playing intentionally away from his carry, unless he wants to like stick here in lane. And finally, what I forgot to say in general is that your role is also to play for Roche control and to play for smokes. So whenever you want to take Roche, there are like 2 ways to do it. Either you have very good vision around the Roche pit and you see heroes on the other side of the map and you can take it like sneaking the Roche, or you want to go smoke and then go into their side of the map and find a kill and then go into Roche. And this is something that you will have to initiate. If another member of the team does it, that's totally fine. But in general, it is you as the 5 position who is trying to have an overview of the map, because you're not always busy like hitting creeps. You're thinking like, where's the enemy and when do we want to go Roche? So yeah, that's something in general that I forgot to mention just now. We managed the mid game. We warded, we stacked, we made Roche control, we created space on the map, or we protected our carry. And now we get in this stage of the game where our carry is ready to fight, and we have these big team fights and potentially going high ground. Again, here's the support spectrum between heroes that are very ultimate dependent and heroes that are more utility dependent. So Silencer, Warlock, Oracle. These are heroes, if they press their ultimate successfully, then they are very impactful in the fight already. With heroes like Ogre, Clockwork, even Snapfire, even though her ult is pretty good, their ultimate is not like their main kit. Especially Ogre, basically not having an ultimate, a passive ultimate. You will need to think about, where do I fall on the spectrum, and what does this mean for my itemization? If my ultimate is really strong, I want to play so that I can utilize my ultimate in the right way, or to enable it and make it stronger. Buying an Aghanim Scepter, buying a Fresher Orb, those are items that will make your ultimate much stronger, and this is what you can go for with like a Silencer or with a Warlock. Or you can go for a Blink with your Oracle to better reach your saves. And then on the other side of the spectrum, there are heroes that just need to think about, what does our team still need that we don't have yet, or that nobody wants to buy. And this can be a Lotus or a Wind Waker or a Hex. Can also be a Pipe, depending on the game. So this means that you need to get out of your comfort zone of what you usually buy as an item and actually think about what do we need in this game item-wise. Like, do we still need control? Do we still need a save? Do we need reach maybe? If you figure this out, like, what is my job? Is my job buying an item? Is my job pressing my ultimate? Then you just need to play so that you can execute this job. As a Silencer, this means to just stay so far behind that you cannot die. If they jump like your ally, then you can press global silence in response, but if they jump you first and you die at the start of the game without pressing global, this is like game ruining. So in general, for most supports, this will mean that you will stay behind your cores and let them go in front, and then respond with your kit or with the items that you bought. This, by the way, also means that you are essentially never hitting high ground. If you are like sieging high ground and you are hitting the tower, you're doing something wrong. And I don't think that there's an exception for any hard support hero. This is something that your cores will do very effectively, and you will stay behind, pressing global, pressing golem, pressing a save. So finally, there's one misconception, and it's the poor man's pride. Meaning that some supports pride themselves in being like the sacrificial lamb and being poor the entirety of the game. And I don't think that this is the main idea of the hard support anymore. Maybe a couple of years ago it was usual that you maybe had a 4-stuff in the entire game. But not these days. These days the map is very big and there are many waves that can be freely farmed. And being a little greedy doesn't hurt anybody if you still are able to ward and stack and play like so that you can save your cores. So it's not like farm is your main priority, but you should look for where there are places where there is farm that is unoccupied and nobody wants to take it. And that is your farm. And if you go for this consistently, then you will have money at the end of the game. And having money at the end of the game allows you to like buy a refresher, buy a Wind Waker, and actually change the course of the late game. So let's summarize this. In the lane, you want to keep a good creep equilibrium, meaning that you need to pull the wave and contest the enemy pull so that your wave is close to your tower. And then you want to mirror the enemy support, or you want to gang up on the enemy support 2v1. And if possible, if you won your lane, you want to rotate at minute 6 to your mid lane rune, or twin gate to get a kill on the enemy safe lane. In a mid game, you want to play in front of your carry when your team is like passive, and you want to create a buffer zone where the enemy meets you first instead of the carry. And if you are aggressive as a team, you want to play behind your cores. So if you're actually going in, you don't want to be the first point of contact. This should be like your off lane, maybe your mid lane. And you just stay behind and use your spells. And then you should ward and stack and go for runes and control the roach pit, thinking about when do we want to smoke. This is like the mid-game support life. And in the late game, you need to identify a job and then itemize to be able to execute it. So what does my team still need? Is it my ultimate? Is it another save? Is it catch? Build for that and then play behind your team to be able to actually execute that. So thank you for sticking around. This was my hard support guide. I do offer coaching. You can reach out to me on Discord, link below if you are interested. And I would love for you to like and subscribe. It helps the channel grow. And see you in the next one.
What a tune!